Hi guys, it's Mike with K.I.S Dog Training, and we are back to talk dogs and dog training. Today we are going to do another one of those think outside the box topics. I do a lot of work with reactive dogs on leash, and what I find is that in most cases, you have dogs on either one of two varieties, and I think they're on the same spectrum, just on opposite ends. So number one, you have the fearful dog who doesn't like seeing other dogs and will kind of become Barney Badass to see if they can bluff the way out of the situation, or make such a ruckus that mom or dad will remove me from that situation that's making me uncomfortable. Either way, if the other owner walks away or mom and dad remove the dog from the situation, this is becoming a situation where the dog is getting exactly what they want. So it is a reinforcing behavior, and we're just going to continue doing it. Okay, so there's example number one. Example number two is that dog that loves dogs, wants to meet every dog. A lot of times they're doggy daycare dogs, and they think, well, I get to meet and say hello to all the other dogs. Why can't I say hello to this one? Well, then all of a sudden we get frustrated because I'm on this leash and I can't get to what I want. And then from frustration, it becomes agitation, then it becomes anger, and they throw a temper tantrum. So the funny part is, both are self reinforcing because it gets them kind of what they want. Or it is, like I said in this example, a temper tantrum where the dog is just overstimulated and boom goes the dynamite. So I'm dealing with a Bernedoodle. Now I would be honest with you, this Bernedoodle is really, really, really high energy. I mean, if if 7 is normal, this dog is close to a 10 or 11. So we have been working with a veterinarian in some of the other examples, but this dog lunges towards cars, lunges towards dogs, even people, just out of an overstimulation kind of situation. And in most cases, when I'm dealing with these dogs, we start in the house with a hand feeding program, and we learn commands like sit and down and watch me and leave it, which is a redirection cue, which means quit looking at that and look at me, and then I'll give you a treat, so that we have those tools in the toolkit. Second step is going to be let's move to the backyard. Once we can sit in the backyard and redirect the dog from some of the distractions in the backyard, we'll move to the front yard. A lot of people are curious, why do I start in the backyard? Well, this is usually, depending on your setup in your life, this is the area the dog knows best. It's usually fenced. I can be out there. I've seen, sniffed, tasted, touched everything in the backyard. It's not a um, sensory overload of new things. So it is the next logical, more distracting than inside, but less distracting than the front yard. A lot of times we'll introduce the long line, 15-foot leash in the backyard, and get the dog to go out and come back and go out and come back. I've even had some owners where we talk to the next door neighbor and go, hey, will you put your dog outside every day at 4 o'clock so I can practice? Now, that would require me sitting at the opposite side. So, like, if we're looking at it and the dog lives on this side of the fence, I want to be on this side of the yard in the backyard, so there's as much distance possible between me and the dog, and I want the dog on the long line so that we can't let the dog get all the way up to the fence and start fence fighting. And then we'll start practicing leave it's there. Once we've accomplished that, we move to the front yard. And once we can sit in the driveway and kind of watch the world go by and work on redirection and quit looking at that, come here, sits, downs, just turning it into a working environment, kind of normalizing the environment, we will then start on a walk. And keep in mind, I put about 2 weeks in between sessions. So if we're doing session one, session two, session three, we're already 6 weeks into training before we've really ever gone for a walk, which to a lot of people frustrates them to no end because they just want to start working on the behavior that is frustrating them. But if we don't lay the groundwork and the foundation, that's not going to be any good. Well, with this one particular dog, we started trying to do the walks and kind of see things in cars and sitting, and it just never really got any better. And the funny part was, at one point, there was a UPS truck coming down the street, and I said, do me a favor, and I'm probably about 25 or 30 feet from the owner at this point. I said, kneel down, call the dog to you, and love up the dog while the truck goes by. I don't know why I asked this, but it was better than letting the dog react, which I knew it was going to do. And usually we had been using food or treats. And lo and behold, when the owner kneeled down and loved up the dog, the UPS truck went by and the dog was totally fine. These are those little things that you have to be willing to try new stuff. You have to be willing to try different things. It could be a squeaky tennis ball if the dog loves tennis balls. It could be a higher value treat. It could be love and attention. It could be hiding behind a truck so that you get more of a block, visual block away from the thing. But don't, just because like even me as a dog trainer, I have a very specific way that I normally handle these dogs, but at times I have to kind of think outside the box. This is also where I always talk about the training trinity, which is the client, the dog trainer, and the veterinarian. And we've been sending emails back and forth, letting the veterinarian see the things that we were working on, things like this. The owner contacted the vet and said, "This is working, but it's going pretty slow. Here's what we've tried." And at that point, the vet was like, "Well, let's try some medications too, and see if we can help with that." So now we got everybody kind of pulling in the same direction. We're all communicating. We're all thinking outside the box on how to best help this dog. So really, all I want you to take away from this little quick video is don't be scared to try new things. Now, I would hesitate and I would tell you that in a lot of dog training, trying things that are outside the box usually are waiting till you're frustrated and trying something to punish away a behavior, which I don't agree with. But I think as long as we can try to normalize the environment, reward the dog for being in the environment, going extraordinarily slow, letting the dog work at their own pace, I think you're on the right track. But even us 15-year vets in the dog training world have to occasionally stop and go, okay, this is not working. How can we try something different? And in this particular case, it was just kneeling down, calling the dog, loving the dog up as the truck went by. We then tried it with a dog. We tried it with a person, and it was actually something that worked. Okay, and we had been having a hard time finding some traction in training. Okay, so once we can find that traction, we got a starting point. Everything else is going to be downhill from there, and we're just going to work slowly at the dog's pace. But moral of the story: think outside the box. Reward, 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 and we'll talk to you guys later. It's Mike with K.I.S.S Dog Training. You guys have a great day, and remember, keep it simple, stupid.